Greetings, friends. It's Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
And we are here on the Dead Tired Dads podcast. And this is a podcast for gamers who don't have time to game because they are parents and they are tired and just are really busy with life and work and things. So thank you for tuning in. Ryan.
Josh.
You have a funny story you told me.
I do have a funny story.
You didn't tell me the story, but you told me that you had a story that you wanted to share.
I do have a funny story.
Tell me your story.
So, a couple weeks ago, you mentioned, your life as an NPC, and part of that story was your kids being sick. And we recently, about a week or 10 days ago ourselves, went through that fun stage of our kids being sick, and they're catching every single cold and sniffle and everything. And our 2-year-old woke up, and he ran out into the family room and he threw up on the floor.
Oh gosh!
And he's 2, so he's not really totally grasping what's going on. But we didn't see it happen; we just heard it, which is gross. But my wife runs out and asks, "Oh, did you throw up? Did you throw up?" And his response was, "No, John did it." Which is a friend of his who very obviously was not at our house and who lives an hour and a half away, so was not even recently at our house.
Nice.
So my 2-year-old is already blaming other people.
So
yeah,
your 2-year-old is a pathological liar.
He is. He's already throwing his friends under the bus, and
wow.
Yeah.
So anyone who has any doubts on total depravity and things like that.
Yeah. No. Just have a kid. It eliminates all doubt.
Sorry, getting into a little theology there.
Like I said, this is all of the above.
Yeah, very fun. So I also have a funny story.
All right,
mine does not involve my children. So I mentioned a couple weeks ago that we got some new recording equipment that we've been using, and so I was doing while I was kind of trying to figure out what mics to get and things like that. I was doing some shopping around, and I went to Best Buy to look at mics and look at stuff there to see if they had anything that would be worth our time and energy. And so I go into the back and I find some mics, and I kneel down on the ground, and I'm kind of looking at different packaging and things like that, and kind of trying to compare, what little recording equipment and stuff they've got there. And I find this one thing and I'm like, oh, this could be worthwhile.
Yeah.
And so I pull it and I'm like, well, I wonder what this is, kind of what this, looks like, and how heavy it is, and what all comes in this package. And so, I open it up and, just very carefully pull it out and kind of look.
Oh no.
And a couple of minutes.
Oh no.
Couple minutes later, this guy comes up and starts talking to me, and it's just a Best Buy guy just talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, we strike up a conversation. We're he's just being real friendly, and he's like, eventually he's like, okay, well, if you need any help, you just let me know. And he goes away, and then I go to another aisle and start looking for something else, and I see him walking away, and I ask him about something. He's like, I don't know about that. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Anyway, about 5 minutes later, as we're walking out of the building, and you walk by at the front of every Best Buy, there is that station,
loss prevention person,
the person watching all the cameras.
Yep.
And I realize, oh my gosh,
that's what they were doing.
That guy thought I was stealing
stuff.
Thought
you were stealing.
So yeah. I thought that was very fun. I had this realization of
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, Josh is a thief. Thanks.
The reason I started saying "oh no" is because I did not know this story at all. You've never told me this story, but for those who don't know, I used to work at Best Buy.
Oh yeah,
my
that's
wife
right. I
did
forgot
as
about
well.
that.
That's actually where we met. My wife and I met when we both worked at Best Buy together, and so I knew where this was going. That's why I started saying "oh no," because I didn't work in loss prevention, but I knew how it worked, and I have stood there before and watched those cameras. So yeah, I knew exactly where that was going. Josh is now considered a threat.
Yeah, it was just this weird thing, because I worked at at a facility, not a facility, but a big box, not big box. I worked at a store where there was a loss prevention department, and I didn't work with loss prevention, but I worked in the back, so like loss prevention hung out in the back a lot.
Yep.
And so I knew how it worked and everything like that, and it was just one of those moments of realization of like,
oh man,
Josh is stealing stuff. Josh is at Best Buy trying to take stuff out of the case and put it in his pocket and walk out the door.
That's where we're at, guys. We need more listeners, or Josh is gonna steal podcast recording equipment.
Gotta get the podcast mics, man. Can't afford. Gotta afford.
That is funny though. But I hate that feeling that you have when it dawns on you.
Well, it wasn't...
you were being so innocent, and then it dawns on you like, wow, 10 people think I'm trying to steal right now.
Well, and it was really funny because like the guy, like I was just super nice. Like I just didn't even realize it. Like
never
cross my mind, and like super nonchalant to the guy. Like we had a great conversation about. I had a Packers hat on and everything, and so we had a great conversation about the Packers and football and things like that, and just like, I thought he was just being a nice, Best Buy employee trying to help me out and striking up a conversation. No, he thought I was a common criminal.
You know what's actually makes this even more funny is because I've been in some of those meetings where they like train those people on how to handle those situations. And he was looking for all these signs of you like trying to steal. Mm-hmm. And he's probably on the other side of it thinking, someone told me to come over here because they thought this guy was stealing, and he's very obviously not, because you weren't like, most of the time people are nervous or they try to run away or whatever. And the fact that you just had this normal conversation with him, in his mind, he's going, this guy's not stealing. Who sent me over here for this?
I certainly hope that was the
impression.
That's totally
what he felt.
Was the impression that he got, because like, now granted, I am... when I'm out in public, I am not exactly the, the peak of, upper class society. I would, lip ring, pierced ears, blue jeans, and a t-shirt. You
just got the look. Josh. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Eventually, I'll be covered in tattoos and.
Can't trust that guy.
That guy.
Keep an eye on him.
Sketchy. So
that's funny. That is a funny story.
I thought so.
So my 2-year-old son is a pathological liar, blaming his problems on other people, and you're stealing podcasting equipment.
Yeah, I'm a thief.
I mean, it took 10 episodes for us to just totally derail, and yeah.
There we go. That's it.
All right,
we're done.
That was a good run.
I'm going to jail.
It was a good run, guys. I may be sitting here without anyone next week. It might be just me.
Oh man, the bug bit me, and now I feel the need to steal things. I've become a klepto.
That's so
if you are
funny.
dealing with kleptomania, please contact.
Oh gosh,
there is help available.
Man,
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, we're here to talk about video games.
We are here to talk about. Allegedly, we're here to talk about video games. So
Ryan, what game have you got for us this week?
So a couple weeks ago, I said that I felt bad for doing this big obvious title. I've got one this week that I think is pretty obscure.
Okay.
I'll be surprised if any of our listeners have. Well, actually, no. I know that a couple of our listeners have heard of it because one of them told me to get it. So
okay.
But I'll be surprised if many people have heard of this one. So I got one called Boot Hill Bounties.
Okay. Boot Hill?
Boot Hill, like a boot that you wear on your foot.
Hill.
And then a hill. Bounties.
We're trying to keep this show PG.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
I just wanted to make sure.
Boot Hill Bounties.
Because that just sounds like it could get you into trouble. I think you might have told me about it once before.
Darn it.
So beyond the fact that you told me about it once before.
Other than that,
no.
You're not going to see any commercials about it.
I think the only reason that you told me about it was because you were like, I think I've got this game for the podcast.
Yeah, I think you're right.
At some point.
Yeah. I did tell you that.
Anyway, Boot Hill Bounties.
Yeah, so I discovered this game, like I said, from one of our listeners. At least he claims to be one of our listeners, and I hope he is because it's my brother. So I hope he's listening.
He better be.
So kind of a funny story. I have two brothers. One of my brothers told myself and our other brother that we should all get this game and play it together, which sounded fun to me. Great, playing video games with my brothers. So my other brother bought it for me so that all three of us would have it.
Excellent.
Neither one of them have ever touched it. Neither one of them have done a single thing with it.
Nice.
The youngest brother, the one who was the initial suggest that we all get it, I think he might have played it for about 5 or 10 minutes and just talked about how much he hated it.
Oh. So it was his idea and he hadn't played it yet?
Yeah.
And he was like, this game is stupid.
The brother who bought it for me, I don't think he's ever touched it. Never played it.
Okay, then.
So, this is kind of a funny thing. That's how I got this game. But anyway.
So you got it for free?
I did get it for free. My brother bought it for me, yeah.
So congrats on that. That's a win.
It's a free game, which automatically makes it a little bit better.
Makes it a little bit better,
yeah. Boot Hill Bounties, the way that I would describe it is if you can somehow mash this together in your mind, if you can picture this, the way I would describe it is Oregon Trail meets Final Fantasy. Go ahead. Just try to make that mashup.
Okay.
And if you can.
So you're going to die of dysentery. Or no, wait, no. What's the girl's name who dies in Final Fantasy VII? She's going to die of dysentery. That's how, yes. Rather than Sephiroth killing her, she is going to die of dysentery.
She's going to die. Yes.
Okay, got it.
So, yeah, I say that because it's I really don't know how to describe this game. It's an RPG.
Okay.
With turn-based combat.
Okay, so Josh
is never going to play it.
Josh would hate this game.
Josh will hate this game for sure. But it has this element. It's a Wild West game.
Okay.
You're dealing with at least that I've experienced so far. I don't think they've ever named specific real places, but it's obviously the Wild West, cowboys, Native Americans, gold rush. Some of these things. But there's also this aspect of you have to farm and hunt for survival in the game.
Sure.
So that's why I say it's got this turn-based RPG, but it's also Oregon Trail survival-ish.
Yeah, okay.
If you can imagine the two.
I can kind of put that together.
It is family-friendly for sure. Even though there's these typical cowboys with their 6 shooters, there's no gore or anything like that. It's not violent at all. It's a very interesting combat system. It's turn-based, but it's like some of those turn-based games where it's your turn when your meter fills up at the bottom. So you got this look of confusion, but then again, you don't play many RPGs. So
right.
People who do will know what I'm talking about. You have this little meter at the bottom, and when that fills up, there's just this constant stream that fills up your meter. That's when it's your turn to attack.
So it's not really turn-based, it's just time-based.
Yeah, kind of. So Final Fantasy has done this a couple times. Other RPGs have done it. It's, in a way, turn-based because you can increase your stats and skills that speed up that.
Right.
But yeah, it's sort of a mixture. And that kind of leads to my next point, which is the only real big negative I found to this game was it can't really decide what it is.
Yeah, I can see that.
It can't decide if it's a survival game. It can't decide if it's a RPG. It's obviously set in the Wild West, but there's these fictional monsters like you would see in a typical Final Fantasy. It just really can't decide what it is.
Sure.
And that was kind of a drawback for me because it could have done either or, but it kind of tried to do both, and it's not enough of a drawback to not play it at all, but they could have done one thing really well instead of two things
halfway decent.
Yeah.
Sounds like an interesting concept, though.
It is, and the one thing I will say about it is different than any game I've ever played.
Sure.
So sometimes if you want something different, last week I talked about a game that it's enjoyable, but it's the same story that's been done 1,000 times.
Sure.
This one is absolutely different. I've not seen anything like it.
Yeah.
So if you are not like Josh and you like RPGs, it's fun. I can't imagine it's too expensive. So
well, your brother bought 2 copies of it and felt like it was okay not to play.
Never play it ever.
After spending money on it. So,
yeah.
I mean, take that for what you will.
I think when he bought it, it was $20.
Okay.
So I can't, it's probably $10 or $15 now.
Yeah.
Apparently this is a sequel. There's another one called Boot Hill Heroes.
Okay.
Which is if I remember correctly, it's like an old, like, maybe Super Nintendo, like mid-90s game.
So with the bounties thing, like, are you collecting bounties at all, or is that just kind of tacked on there?
I think it's just sort of the name.
Okay.
I
was just curious.
I haven't really collected any bounties. Sort of the gist is there's 2 groups of people that are fighting over a territory. And basically there's good guys and bad guys. There's this gang, but there's bounties on the gang leaders. But yeah, so I guess you are sort of collecting on the bounties, but not really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Boot Hill Bounties.
Boot Hill Bounties.
So yay?
Yeah, I would say yes overall, just because, like I said, it's different.
Yeah.
I had all these fond memories of many different games as I was playing it.
Okay. Nostalgia factor.
It took me back to Final Fantasy. It took me back to Oregon Trail. It's a lot of things.
Fair enough.
Which can be a drawback, but also I enjoyed it. It's unique.
Enough.
And like I said, I got it for free. So
yeah, and that's always a plus. So cool. Boot Hill Bounties. If that sounds like your cup of tea, go buy it. I am going to do something that I kind of went back and forth on this game, but I felt like it was, as far as like whether or not I should cover it, but I felt like it was different enough that yes, I will. So on the Wii U, there was a game that came out called Super Mario 3D World.
Yes.
Which was a take on Super Mario World, and so of course, like with most games for the Wii U, Nintendo is just kind of repackaging them and throwing them out on the Switch because they've already developed the game, and it's basically
why not?
like they're good games, and they didn't sell enough Wii U's to get the games out there, so we're going to get people
Nintendo
good games
is going to get their money,
and they're going to get games into people's hands. So. But when they released Super Mario 3D World on the Switch, they added a second game on it called Bowser's Fury.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So Super Mario 3D World is its own thing, and I bought this game, like with the intent purpose of it being like, hey, this is something that my wife and I can play, that my kids can watch, and that my kids could play a little bit eventually. And like that's kind of my thinking behind it. And then so I got it, I basically played it, I beat it, and it was just me. Now my daughter tried to play it a little bit, and she's just a little confused. Some of the 3D aspect of the 3D world is a little weird. Anyway, I jumped into Bowser's Fury not realizing how expansive it was going to be. Like I did not realize just how much more it was going to be involved with that, so I thought it was just kind of an extra little bonus thing on the Switch version of 3D World, but it's actually really cool. I actually really enjoyed it. It's so basically take the elements of the things that you love about the 3D Mario games, like Super Mario 64 and Mario Galaxy, and for those of you who like Super Mario Sunshine, I don't understand you, but you go ahead and like that one. So and you basically get that in this mini game that you get for free, basically, with Super Mario 3D World. So I kind of wanted to talk about Bowser's Fury. So it's an open world kind of thing. So but there are different little islands.
Okay.
That you kind of travel to and go to that all have different stars that you get. I don't remember if they're actually. I don't think they're actually stars, but for people who grew up with Super Mario 64,
they're stars
for all intents and purposes. They're stars.
Yeah.
I think maybe they are stars. I can't remember now. It's been a little bit since I've actually beat it and played it, but it's such a fun little thing that, like I said, I was not expecting it to be as fun and as entertaining as it was. I expected it to just be kind of a side, a bonus little 15-minute thing, but it could have been developed as a full-length game in and of itself. And I think they probably just didn't want to spend the time on developing it into the full-length thing that it could have been. So yeah, there's all of the things that you love about, the 3D Mario games are there, and more. So one of the cool things that they did, in Super Mario 3D World, they added this new costume, the cat costume that you could get that allows you to climb trees and walls and as the cat. So they added that into the 3D. They took that from the 3D world and put it into Bowser's Fury, which is an element that they haven't really explored a whole lot of in previous 3D Mario games. A little bit, but not a whole lot. You've got Metal Mario and the wing cap and things like that, but this is actually this is one of the costumes from Right. It would be like having the frog costume or the raccoon costume.
Love the raccoon costume.
In, Super Mario 64, which you didn't have. Why didn't they do that? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't they?
But they've actually do that in this. And so yeah, all of the elements that you love. So if you're a fan of those Mario games, those 3D Mario games, getting Super Mario 3D World with Bowser's Fury on the Switch, if you don't want the 3D world, just getting it for Bowser's Fury is actually probably worth it, and you just gotta get
so it's that full of an experience.
It really is. It really is. There's a lot of elements. There's a lot of things to kind of figure out and play around with and explore. And there's some actual challenging things that are difficult to do. It's not it's not just this is just Mario. There's some some aspects to it that do have a little bit of a challenge involved with it. So obviously it's Mario. It's family friendly. My daughter loved watching me play it. She wanted to play, and there is you get this Bowser Jr. is kind of a part of your team, kind of, as it were. And you can play it with two people, and the other person controls Bowser Jr. So you can do it that way. Haven't really experimented with that too much, but it's a little bit of fun. So time element, again, it's Mario. You can play it for 10 minutes. You can play it for 5 minutes. You can play it for 3 hours.
Right. However much
you really want to.
Yeah.
And there's lots of things for you to explore and to do, even with it being kind of a minimal, a side game, as it were. So
okay, I have questions.
Okay, I have answers,
and they're very self-serving questions because at some point I'm going to ask you to borrow it from you. The Bowser's Fury, is it its own cartridge, or are they all in one cartridge?
It's all in one thing.
All right,
it's all on the same.
I like that. And you kind of already answered this, but it's Bowser's Fury could have been a full game. It's how close to a full game is it?
So I mean, it's hard to say. I think I probably beat it in like 10 to 15 hours, or not even that long. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, if they had wanted to,
they could.
Like they could have run with it and taken it a bit further.
Yeah.
You know, it by itself is not a full game. Like it by itself is like as it stands. It's not like it's not something that you could sell, you know, and package and say, "Hey, this is the new Mario game," which is why they packaged it with 3D World.
Right.
But I felt like it was one of those things where it had to have been something that someone was developing.
Yeah.
That they then went, well, we're going to go in a different direction. Mm-hmm. But they had the concepts and they had all of these things, and they're like, this is a really great. You know, we've got some great ideas here. There are some great aspects to this. So why don't we take this and make it something else? And I felt like if they had really wanted to, they could have developed it into a, you know, another 3D Mario game. Like if they had done it instead of Odyssey or something like that, you know.
So I'm going to show how little I know about the game because I made a really bad assumption. When I saw the title, Bowser's Fury, I just made this assumption that you'd be playing as Bowser.
So no.
But it sounds like from the way you described it, you're not playing as Bowser.
No, you are Mario.
You're playing as Mario.
You are Mario. And Bowser has been taken over by this weird goop stuff. And Bowser Jr. is concerned about him, and so Bowser Jr. comes to Mario and says, "Hey, you have to help me. My dad has gone crazy."
I was wondering how they made the leap to Bowser Jr. being on your team,
and so you have to collect, you know, stars to light the lighthouses up to drive away the dark the dark goopy stuff.
Yeah.
So there's some Mario Sunshine elements in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of with that element. So yeah.
See, I feel really behind because there were several generations where I did not have a Nintendo console. So I had the NES, the Super Nintendo, the N64.
The best console ever created.
Which one?
The 64.
Okay, I thought that's what you were saying. Yeah. And then I think after the N64, I did not have a Nintendo console until the Switch. No, that's not true. I had a GameCube.
Okay.
I did have a GameCube. But, I didn't.
So you only skipped two.
The Wii and
the Wii U.
The Wii U.
Wii U.
You know, actually, I misspoke. I did have a Wii.
Oh, well, there you go.
So but it only got used for two things ever.
Mario Kart.
Netflix.
Oh, okay.
And bowling.
Okay, yeah.
That's it.
No.
My father-in-law bought it for us shortly after my wife and I got our first house. He just showed up on our door one day with a Wii in his hand, and we just played bowling on it.
Yeah, the bowling on the Wii was just absolutely phenomenal. That whole like sports package that they
was fun.
That was so much fun.
It was fun.
I had actually figured out. I had this weird thing that I would do, like I could guarantee a strike every single time.
I feel like if you like figured it out, people like I had a friend that could do that.
I knew exactly where to put it, and you just kind of flick your wrist just the right way. And I was on my way at one point. I was on my way to like a 300 game, and I was doing it backwards because I was a showboater, and so I was like facing away from the TV, like looking the other way, and I went to do it, and I did my thing. And someone had picked up the sensor and like turned the sensor on it, like up on its side, so it didn't read it right, and so I didn't. Yeah, but I think I probably could have gotten a perfect game.
I feel like you get credit for it.
Yeah,
but anyway, I tell all that just to say I'm like way behind on all the big Nintendo names, you know. So last week you talked about Metroid. I'm way behind on that. Other than Breath of the Wild, the last Zelda game I played was Ocarina of Time. So there's all these major titles that I just haven't.
Well, I mean, if you're not a fan of Metroid in general, like, you know, you're not missing. We're gonna go long on this one again too.
Yeah, you know, bonus content.
Yeah, bonus.
If people don't want to hear it, they can just press stop.
Yeah, but still go rate and review.
Yeah, do that.
But no, I think that it just depends on your preferences. Like if it's not like obviously I don't think Metroid is a game for everyone. Like it's a very specific genre. Of people that like Metroid. Just like I don't like RPGs. There are people who don't like games that make you explore and backtrack and find things. Like it annoys people that you have to so I don't know.
It just feels very weird to me because you mentioned Mario Sunshine. I have no concept for that. So Nintendo fans, they see that remake of a game they like or didn't like, whatever. I have no concept for it. So to me, brand new game. What's the Zelda that they just recently remade for the Switch?
Oh Lord.
Shoot.
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, Skyward Sword. I really, really want to get that because I never played it. I have no concept of it. But other people have played it and said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna buy that because I've already bought that."
I've got a story about that game for another time.
You do. Yeah. Yes, you've told it to me.
Yeah.
And you should tell our listeners.
I will tell that story next time on the next episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast. Like I was saying earlier, please rate, review, share, do all the things because it really does.
All the things.
It makes us feel good about ourselves.
It does.
We're having a good time here, but we want to share our good time with other people so that they can have a good time too.
That's right.
And so help other people enjoy themselves. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next time on the Dead Tired Dads podcast.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.